All right. Hi, everybody. I'm just getting onto my iPad here so I can see your comments. Here we are. Fantastic. Hi, guys. Let me know if you can hear and see me okay. Tried to put my mic way up this time. All right. Hello, hello. How you guys doing today? Good afternoon, Lori. How are you? All right. Mom is going to be over here in a second, and she's just sharing everything to all the groups. Hi, Carol. Okay, good. Everything's perfect. I like to hear that. All right. How's everybody doing this Sunday afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you are? Awesome. Awesome. Carol says, hope your weather is good. Our weather is actually, it's super rainy right now. We're getting like a cold front, and I think it's supposed to be in the 40s tonight, which is crazy. I'm sure you're a little bit colder than that, Carol. Hi, Elaine. Hey, Kim. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Everybody's on. We're going to get started in just a second here, and Mom is going to come over. We're doing mold making basics today, which I'm so excited about. Hi Sandra. Yes, we will be saving this live, so if you need to go, you are more than welcome to come back and watch it, and it'll be up on our page. I also put all my past live streams on my YouTube channel in a playlist so that it's easy to find them, because sometimes it's hard to scroll through posts if you want to see, one that was from a few months ago, so they're all on my YouTube channel as well. I usually upload them within a few days. All right. Hi Latrice. She said it's snowing in Georgia. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Fantastic. Getting ready for heavy snowfall. Wow. All right. Mom's here too.
Hi, everybody. Where do I look here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm new to this part.
Thank you so much for listening to our suggestions, Lori said. I'm so excited about this. Yeah. It's going to be really, really fun.
Yep.
It's a whole nother technique that'll just kind of bring your work and, different things that you can do into a whole nother level. So super duper excited. All right, so we'll wait just another minute or two before we get started. Kim says hello. Elaine says hi, Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
Lori says hi, Michelle.
It's written in very tiny letters over there, so Sid has to tell me.
I'll read it out for you. Desiree says, nice today in Cali. Oh, that's awesome.
Good.
Hi, Nancy. Carol says hello, Michelle. Hey, Leslie.
Oh, it's so good to see you guys.
I know. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Evelyn. Oh my gosh. Hi, Renata from the UK.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, so who here, as we're waiting to get started, who here has ever tried mold making before? Has anybody tried it, whether it's using the putty or the liquid or anything of that sort? Have you guys tried it before, or are you completely new to it? What do you think? There are, there has been a little bit of like, how to make molds and things like that. Into the food world, I know a lot of people do make their own molds, but it's definitely something that having the tips and tricks really, really helps, and having the right materials for the right project. So we want to just go over everything. Mom is our master mold maker. She makes all of our molds here that we sell and that we use for classes, and so she knows everything about, getting the best mold and making it really economical for you and all that. So she's going to give you all those tips. All right, I'm just going to scroll here because our comments disappear for some reason after a second.
Where did they go?
Hey, Bev.
I see words going up.
Let's see. Lori said she tried it once. Carol has done it. Hi, Jacqueline from Las Vegas.
Fantastic.
Tried it with the green gel stuff. It worked okay, Bev said. Just okay. Evelyn said she tried it and botched it, but she's ready to learn. And Desiree said she's completely new. Okay, good. Looks like we got a good mixture of a little bit of experience and new to it, so that'll be fun.
That's good, because a lot of times it really is just those tips and tricks and little things, because I hear a lot of people, they make their mold and half of it they throw out, like the first 2 or 3. But I'm going to even try to help you save it if you think that something's wrong with it. being an edible medium makes a big difference
Yeah.
than working with resin or something like that.
Right. Yeah, and we can tweak a lot too after the piece is made. So like if even if the mold accidentally came out crooked or something like that, you know, a little off, we can always tweak that since we do have the ability to tweak the finished pieces too. All right, let's see. So we said, Amy said, ready for tips, tried in class but didn't do the whole process. Renata said, tried making molds out of a different make in the past, looking forward to watching, and hopefully Dawn will sell. Kim said, tried it with okay wonky results. Hey, Tammy. Hi, Pepper's here too.
Hi, everybody.
All right, hey, Heather. Awesome. Okay, you ready to get started?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, so we will go ahead and kick it off. So basically how we're going to do this today is Mom's going to show you all of the molding techniques, going through the step-by-step process, all the tips, and then afterwards I'm going to show you how to use the molds and some different materials and what to look for and things like that. And we're going to work together from basically start to finish of the whole process.
Yay.
Okay, sound good?
Sounds really good.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to let Mom take it away. I'm going to stay close. I'm going to look and be reading the comments out. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat and I'll read them out as she's working. I have the mic on me, so I'm not going to go very far to make sure that you guys can hear everything, but make sure just let us know if anything sounds any funky or anything. I can always pass the mic off too. But yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and start.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, and let me know whenever you want the camera angle changed.
Okay, let's see. All right, so I'm Michelle. I'm Sidney's mom. I'm Mike's wife. Or he's my husband, one way or the other. You probably met one of us at one of the shows or somewhere around at classes. And if not, hopefully you'll get to see us when we all get back on the road again soon, right?
Yes.
So let's see. I started mold making, I was probably about 12 years old. And this is a real special story for me because my father is the one who taught me how to mold. My dad was very excited because he came home one day and he grabbed a leaf out of the garden. And he says, see this leaf and how thin it was? And it was one that was breaking down and it was disintegrating. He goes, I can take this and make this very thin mold and make it into gold. And he was a jeweler. And so he got excited about molding and taught me how to mold. And today just happens to be his birthday. So this is really special for me.
Yeah.
So happy birthday in heaven, Dad. We miss you very much. And so this is just a nice way to honor him today.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's talk about the different types of molding. Start with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So the different types of molding in food grade are a little bit different. You do have to watch. If you're going to use this for food grade items, you want a food grade silicone. It tends to be slightly more expensive because obviously it can be edible or put things in it that are edible. And it can be used over and over. And that's one of the really nice things about it. They say that it can last maybe 20 to 50 pours or brooches or whatever you're going to make. But honestly, when Sidney started this, I knew I could make things into food grade because I had made them for jewelry. We just needed an edible medium. So probably 12 years ago we started.
Probably, yeah.
And we have shelves and shelves worth of molds that have been used over and over those 12 years. So honestly, we haven't had any breakdown in time. They get cut on and beat up, but that's the beauty of silicone, even when it's torched on. You don't have to worry because it's self-healing and it just goes back together. And even though it's edible, you can kind of smooth things over if you have a bump or something like that. So that's the wonderful thing about it. But do make sure if you get a silicone and you're going to use it for food grade, make sure it's, if you're going to use it for food and an edible item, you want to use it for, you want to get the food grade. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you about that? I've got my little cheat sheet here, so I go in order and I don't forget anything. So the two types that we work with are going to be the Amazing Mold Putty. I've been working with Amazing Mold Putty now almost 10 years.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, I started out on their design team. They've let me decide how long items will cure, what colors to make them. They're really, really awesome to us. So we love the company and we love their products. And we actually use probably about 8 of their different products.
Mm-hmm.
They do sell other products that you can make, like a mask. So this molding material cannot go on your skin to make a mask. So you would want to use an latex. And they sell materials to do that. They sell materials to make, let's say you want to replicate something in resin. You don't have to use as inexpensive of a silicone. So those are a couple of the things like that. So we use two, let's go over the two major types would be the putty. This is super fast, super easy. They say it has about a 3-minute window. When it's cold, you have a lot longer. So if your room is really cold, it's not going to set up as fast, and that gives you longer time to mold. They also do sell a product that's probably 10 minutes. But it's been so cold in here, we've had to put the heat on to make the molds cure faster. And that's another little tip. If you do need to cure faster and get molding, you can do this very quickly, and in 10 minutes you will be ready to pour your mold, get it out the door. So that's going to help in a pinch, because a lot of times you'll get a last minute cake and you need something very quickly that of course you don't have, and or they bring you a brooch and you need to do that right away. So this is a wonderful way to replicate that with beautiful, beautiful detail. Another way is a liquid silicone.
We do have one question before, no, that's okay, before we go to the next type. Bev was asking, when you use latex, though, do you have to watch for latex allergies?
Yes, definitely. And you could talk to them if you have any problems, because they have different ones, you know, for mold making for masks and for prosthetics.
Yeah, so one thing that I had seen too is like you're talking about how they have certain silicones and latexes. Some of them are okay to touch skin uncured, and some of them have to be cured. So even if it is something that is, you know, safe to touch or that is food safe,
Correct.
Sometimes you cannot get it on your skin uncured, but it's okay to touch it and use it for food when it's cured. So that was something I thought was interesting, that some sort of with the chemical reaction, I guess, makes it so that it's safe after it's cured but not before.
Yeah, being here in Orlando, we tried for years to get into the movie making silicone classes over at one of the local factories for silicone. They supply everything for Disney, they supply everything for Universal and all their prosthetics and everything. And it took us years and years when we finally got in.
Yeah.
And they have to prep the skin and things, but yeah, if you have a latex allergy, you definitely wouldn't want that one on your skin.
Yeah.
Another kind of food grade silicone is a liquid rubber. Now this is not latex.
Right, it's silicone.
This is silicone rubber. And this is a lot more flexible. This has to be poured. It comes in different ratios. The ones that we're going to carry are a 1-to-1 ratio or a 1-to-10 ratio. So these you have to wear gloves for. The putty you do not, but these you do. You don't want this to touch your skin. But when your items are cured, you can put food in them, where the latex ones and some of the others you cannot put food in. And you can't touch some of the ones that maybe you're going to put resins or metals in. You need to wear gloves for those.
Until they're cured.
Until they're cured. So you do have to make sure you follow all the specifications that are on the packaging, and all of that will come with ours as well.
Yeah, so we are going to have the liquids as well. I don't know if we've really mentioned that or announced it yet, but this is what we're going to be carrying as well. So today we're mostly just going to be, as far as making things, Mom's just going to be focusing on the mold putty, because that's a really good intro. It's a little bit simpler, the ratios and things like that. But we are planning, which we'll have more info at the end, to carry the liquid stuff and do more classes in it as well. So make sure you tune in till the end to hear all the details about that. But that's a little sneak peek for you guys. Let's see, I just want to make sure. So Bev said, so use heat for fast curing.
Yes, and we'll go over it a little bit more. There's some very specific ways to heat it faster without causing it to morph into weird positions.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, everybody's just saying good to know. That's wonderful. Lots of hearts. Jenny asked, how about for fresh flower petals? I'm assuming just making molds of those. Would you do like a putty or a liquid, or depends?
Well, it depends. It depends on I would generally start with the putty and see what kind of a impression I can get first. And then sometimes from there, we'll make a resin mold and then we'll pour it from then on.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what works best for your application. You may need it softer or harder. The putty comes in one strength and it's pretty firm. So you get that impression, and then you can make it in a softer liquid silicone, and then you can move it more. You can move the mold and have some movement to it.
And I would say too, because mold making is something, I mean, it is very technical, and like there's some very specific things that you can do to cause certain things to happen or not happen. But I would say too, because of the nature of this being very much a one-off sort of thing, like you're trying this brooch for the first time ever. It's not like you're mass producing them for home use. It's going to take trial and error, because we don't know, with the specific shape of what you're trying to do or the specific texture, like, certain flowers are thicker and thinner, and nobody really knows until they try it too. So definitely, I mean, you can, probably say it definitely takes some like trial and error of going through and trying certain things to kind of get what's going to work best for your specific shape, right?
Exactly. And since you're making these for yourself, you don't have to use quite as much putty as, we're trying to make them look pretty.
Yeah.
We don't mass produce any molds as far as like with machinery. These are all handmade molds that we make, and specifically because it was made originally for Isomalt. A lot of the machine-made molds are just too thin, and it's kind of dangerous. So that's where we started making our own molds, so that we have some meat to it.
Yeah, definitely. We want safety for sure, and by hand making them, you can really ensure that it's exactly what you want. Yeah, every single one of our molds that we sell that are our designs, Mom is the one who makes those. So she makes every single one that comes out. So lots and lots of experience there with different shapes and different materials.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
So let's see now. So silicones come in different strengths. I would say that the Amazing Mold Putty is a very strong silicone. It's a very heavy weight. You can get in the liquid silicone something very light. Think of those toys that you throw against the wall and they stick and they're disgusting. Those things are very, very like light, super, super light, sticky silicone. Those would probably be a 5 or a 10. Amazing Mold Putty is like a 40. And then we can do different strengths all the way up to like 70, 80, 90, where it's rock hard. Maybe you're doing metal molds and things like that. So depending on what you need. Also, another thing is with the Amazing Mold Putty, all of the molecules, and with the heavier silicones, the molecules lock together. And therefore, you get a smoother finish and a much nicer finish. Of course, with the hot Isomalt, it does open up the pores a little bit, and that's why you get just a little bit of a sheen on them that you have to clear up. But basically, if you're using fondant or chocolate gum paste, you won't have to do any of that.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sounds good. Everybody's
All right.
excited. Bev says Michelle is awesome. Lori said the molds are awesome, Michelle.
Well,
so they're excited.
Thanks. Now I can't wait to see you guys. Okay, so some of the applications that people don't usually think about, because we use gum paste, Isomalt chocolate, is soap. Definitely. Ice. You can make all of these molds into ice. You can bake them in the oven with your cookies. They're really gorgeous. They get all the detail, but the ice too, and you can paint the ice. Another thing, the soap, and even butter. We've had a lot of people down in New Orleans. They take our little crawfish molds and make a little pat of butter for everybody. They're so stinking cute.
Yeah, lots and lots of applications, and I'm sure like resin is really popular right now too.
Resin's popular, so these can all be used for resin, but if you do use them for resin, don't use them for food anymore. Yeah, because then it's now just a regular mold. So. Yeah,
keep that one just for, I mean, if you're making your own molds, you can make 2 versions, right? Like one for edible mediums and one for non-edible mediums.
Exactly. You just don't want to put somebody's food in there after you did the resin.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I think we're ready to tip down.
All right, so we're going to move down to our work surface here. Does that look as a good position for you?
That's a very good position.
All right. So yeah, any questions you guys have, keep them coming in the comments. I'm looking over them now. And we're going to move on to some of the demos, right? Just kind of showing
Yes,
how to use it.
I am. I'm going to show you first a little bit what I was talking about, the different strengths. Let's see here. Okay. So, something very, very light. Let me make sure I'm in the camera.
Yep, you could.
And super flexible. This is about a 25. I don't have anything that's a 10 right now, but you can see how super flexible that is.
So that's one of our inserts, right? So if anybody has
Yeah.
an insert at home, you can feel like the difference in the thickness.
I don't know if that's clear,
Yeah.
but you get the idea. You can see. This one is just for seeing how that goes. This is also a 40. You can see how that goes. And then, like our bottles,
Move forward just a little bit.
forward.
Perfect.
So, okay. You can't really move them much. That one's a 60, I believe. So just some ways that those look.
So Bev's saying, or is asking, so how big can you go? I know you have vases and bottles. How do we calculate how much putty we would need for something bigger?
Putty, if you're going to do something really big, I really suggest doing the liquid, which we're going to do next month. But putty, I try not to do anything over about 10 ounces. So say about yay big, pretty thin.
Mm-hmm.
So our sea mold or
Yeah,
something
if you
like
think
that.
about like our biggest, like our frame molds or our sea
Yeah.
sculpture kit, that's usually, plus I'm sure it's like, it's a lot to need and to
It's
push
it's
into
a lot.
in a short period of time too, right?
It is. If you only have 3 minutes to put that all together,
Yeah.
and you definitely have to do that.
Lori said, what was the second one? I think that the thicknesses, the soft compared to the thicker.
This
The-
one was a 40.
A 40. Perfect.
And that's what we're going to be having.
Yeah, the plat 40.
Okay, so some of the supplies that you're going to need, and if you got the kit, you saw. I have plastic mats in all sizes. I sent you guys a couple of these. But I cut my mats up because I have one down below, but you can just use your countertop.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And these are just like cutting board mats, right?
These
The
are
really
just-
cheap ones.
Go to the dollar store and get yourself some cutting boards, and they're just for molding.
Mhm.
I cut them into all different sizes, generally when I need them, but you really need a couple of them that are this size or this size, so you can mold on them and then move them to the side. Today you can just do them and put them off to the side, and it's just fine. Okay, so you'll need some tissues or some paper towels around because you'll want to clean up your pieces. You might want to wipe off your fingerprints if they get on the stones or something like that. A food scale is optional when it comes to the putty. The putty is very forgiving. You can eyeball it and you can just see, oh, that's about that size. Okay, that's about that size. When it comes to doing the liquid, you're going to need a food scale no matter what. This one happens to be microbial, antimicrobial,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use those for food, and it doesn't keep them microbes, which is nice. I always cover all my scales in plastic when I'm molding because I don't want anything to get down into it, and especially with the liquid, you don't want it to get into your battery case. Okay. But the putty can be mixed by eye and not, don't even worry about that. It's not essential.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next thing you're going to need, or you may not need, are containers. And you're going to start looking around your house and seeing what kind of things you can mold in. A lot of times I do them right out of the mold. I don't even need a container. But it's nice to have different size containers. So this one's a little bigger. Oh, I'm going to save the pudding. I've got a whole bunch of these. The reason why I use just stuff that I'm going to throw away is because a lot of times they get damaged when you're popping them out, especially when you pop them out a few times. So you want something that you don't care about or that you might have to cut out. Let's say for whatever reason that day it's stuck to your plastic. Sometimes weather conditions happen and it sticks to the plastic. Well, now you've got to cut your mold out. So you want to make sure you're not using anything you love, like a piece of, your really good Tupperware or something like that. You want to make sure it's something, if you have to sacrifice it, you're just fine with.
Let's see. Bev said, great idea to cover your scale. Susan Clippinger is asking, if a mold breaks or cracks, is it because the mold material was not good, or did it happen from excess use?
It's probably excess use, I would think. Over time, they do tend to dry out. Some of them more than others. It also depends on thin and thickness of them. They can start to break it down over time. If you do notice that they start maybe to get little pieces of silicone into your mold, you want to remake that mold. You don't want to reuse that and take the chance of somebody eating some silicone.
Yeah, I find with mine, the more that I flex it, the more, likely that is to happen, just because you're stretching it. And also remember, not necessarily with cracking, but the softer silicones are, you can break them. You can stretch them apart and rip them. So with the softer silicones, I do try and be more gentle with them than like the harder silicones like the putty is. But, and that usually for me, breaking down happens like over years. It shouldn't necessarily be something that's like happening right away or within the first few months. I've had some, like we were talking about, we've been doing this for like 12 years, and I have some from the beginning that are still fine, but some that I've used more than others will definitely, be more prone to having to be remade.
That's it. So one of the things that you'll want to have on hand, only if you're doing a porous item, and we'll get into that a little bit more, is just some real cheap petroleum jelly. I don't know, that looks shiny.
You can see it now.
You can? Okay. Yep. This is just the Publix brand. The Walmart brand is fine. It does not have to be expensive. If you really like, they sell ones that smell like baby powder, but that's a little too stinky. But let's say you're doing a wood item or a natural item. You need to coat your piece. You just put a little bit of silicone or put a little bit of Vaseline on it, and when you go to mold it, it will release. They sell very expensive, lovely mold release. You don't need it. Make sure that's food grade too, though. The petroleum jelly's fine, because you can put this on your lips and everything like that. And then you can wash it. You can wash out your mold. But the mold release is very expensive. You can also use PAM, or you can use Crisco. But the problem with that is it can get rancid, so you really have to make sure you wash that out very well, out of your piece you're molding and your mold. Okay, so items to mold. This one is a lot of fun. And so the thing I tell people what to look for when they're going around, now you're going to look at everything and want to mold it. Yeah, so things that you want to look at when you're in the store. I'm going to show you this one. It looks pretty good, but what if it had a scratch or a chunk out of it? What if it, just had a piece missing? You want to make sure that you look it over the best you can and make sure that you can see. This one's pretty good. This one doesn't have any too bad of marks on it. This little strawberry, let's see if we can get him close enough to see. Not really. He's got some issues.
Yeah, you can kind of see.
Some glue stuck on him and things like that. He's not the best idea, but when you make the mold, all you have to do when you make your piece is smooth that out or torch it out. Let's say somebody comes to you and they've got a brooch and the stone is missing. You can actually fill that little area with a little bit of clay and put a little Vaseline over it, and you can save yourself not having. Now, if it's a big, beautiful, faceted stone, it may not work, but in most cases, they're going to be nice little stones like this.
Something subtle.
And yeah, and you're going to be able to just pop a little bit of clay in there. Just kids' clay, non-drying kids' clay. So if it's somebody's mother's brooch from, 100 years ago, you haven't ruined their mold. You can brush it. You can get it out with a little bit of either toothpaste or a little toothbrush. Shells work great. Another great thing is stones. You can make all your own stones. Beautiful. I think you're getting a little shine on there. Sorry about that. Who's this guy? I think I raided all of Sid's toys when she was little, and I stole like all of her jewelry that was kid
Like the
plastic.
plastic costume jewelry.
Plastic is like the best to mold because it releases so easily. Sometimes things like this can get stuck, very rarely, but let's say you've made this brooch, it didn't quite dry enough. Well, it's stuck down in there because it's got so many facets. So, things like that. But plastic releases beautifully. Plastic, metal, shells, but then when it comes to things like porous wood, if you're trying to do a branch, sometimes with a leaf, you may have to grease it a little bit. May take some trial and error, just to make sure. You can take a little tiny piece.
Oh, and just press it on.
Yeah, you can just try it in a obscure area.
Is there any materials that definitely just will not work with molding?
Yes, definitely. You don't ever want to mold silicone.
Well, that makes sense.
Because it's just going to become part of it. So
It bonds with it.
It bonds with it. There's certain ways that you can get them apart if you had prepared it first, but it generally leaves a lot of streaks, like you'd have to use a lot of mold release, or you'd have to use different weight silicones, and
Just not worth it.
it doesn't come out as pretty as you would think.
That's funny.
Yeah, so look around, see if you have some molds. This one's just a plastic flower. And you're going to be looking at Michael's now in a whole new way. We went and dug through tons of antique markets in the UK, and we went to Italy, and that's what we do. We try to find things that are really unique, that nobody would ever have. And that's half the fun of it, because we buy molds from people who we love their molds too, and you're going to, have molds that you want to share, and it's just a lovely way, I don't know, to treat your cake friends.
Yeah, exactly. Make them a custom mold. Another thing you can do too, which we utilize sometimes, is you can make your own masters. I mean, everybody, I would assume most everybody who's watching this is in the food industry. You probably have some experience with sculpting, decorations or flowers or something. You can sculpt your own pieces, even out of edible mediums. Make it out of gum paste, make it out of Isomalt or chocolate, and you could actually mold your own pieces. So like that's something that we'll do too. If we don't have a master that we really like for a certain project, or it's not the right size, or maybe we have something but we want to tweak it, a lot of times I'll sculpt something, and then when it's done, we'll get, I'll give it to Mom, and she'll actually make the mold from that.
Yes. So really the sky's the limit.
Yeah, you could make anything out of, your mind. You could even do it out of clay if you want to, if you have a little bit of experience with either air drying clay, baked clay, any kind of material that's going to dry firm so that it doesn't obviously lose its detail.
The Sculpey clay works really good, but do treat it with the Vaseline, because that is a little bit porous.
Okay.
Yeah. Just something like that. Natural stone. It's not going to really release off of the natural stone without a little bit of mold release.
Okay.
Yeah, things like that.
Nice.
But really, you can get any texture or anything.
Nice.
And there was one more thing I was going to think of when you made me in the 3D printer.
Oh yeah, that's
She
another thing.
printed me. Now the problem with a lot of the 3D printers is it has lines on it. So Sidney would make it in the 3D printer, then she would make the Isomalt version, and she would torch away all the lines, and then we'd make a mold of that, and that was the master.
Yeah, so we'd basically go back and forth. I designed the 3D print and printed it, gave it to Mom to make a mold of it. She gave me the mold to then pour it in Isomalt. I poured it and then smoothed it and then gave it back to her. So it is a little bit more of a process, depending on, what you're using and what kind of experience you have with different mediums like that. But it's definitely something that you can do. A lot of people I know are a lot better with the 3D printer than I am probably too, getting really advanced and the different temperatures. So that's definitely something you could take advantage of.
Oh, definitely. So now this is two different types of molds. I'm going to show you the difference. One is pressed mold into the top. This one I pressed over. This is not my preferred method. When you do this over the top, it can pop through and things like that. But not only that, it's tippy. And with Isomalt, that's not really what we want. It's fine for chocolate or gum paste if you're just doing it. But sometimes you have an object that's stuck down on a big piece of something and you can't get it off.
Right.
So all you do is take your putty and press over it, and you can make it. You can even take your mat and press the top. And you can, if you have enough and you're not pushing through your item, you can give it a little bit of a flat surface, or once you've made it, you can wedge it.
Use like a little tinfoil nest or something.
Yeah, that way that you don't spill the Isomalt on you and burn you. All right, so let's get some putty out, shall we?
All right, everybody's excited. Bev said she's always wanted to make some of her stuff into edible items.
Good.
Lori said her son has a resin 3D printer that she was considering. They don't leave lines and you get great detail.
Oh,
that would be awesome.
Fantastic.
Definitely. So you guys have to tag us in pictures when you use your mold making skills. Tag us and tell us, what you did, how you did it, if you want to share. Post it in the Torch team. It'd be super fun to get ideas from each other.
Oh, yeah, so much. And, it's always going to be that one brooch or that one frame that nobody has. The other day, somebody was asking me for a fork and spoon mold. It's like, that's so easy. All you just push it in. You can do it. And
yeah.
they did it.
Exactly.
All right. So.
Rebecca's asking really quick, what about nuts, berries, and fruit? Would you think that's something that you could mold? Would it have to be frozen, maybe?
Yeah. I believe that when we did the Jared strawberries and all the blueberries, we sat in the grocery store for hours looking over the things of fruit, and then we froze them. We laid them all out and we froze them so they weren't squished, and then you can mold them, but you have to refreeze them in between if you don't get the exact mold that you want.
Right.
We went through quite a few, but it was very successful.
That's funny, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, Donald said he uses a 3D printer all the time. Perfect.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so the formula for how much putty do you use is not what I use, but there is a formula. It's length times width times height minus the weight or volume.
I'm going to write that in the comments.
So that leads me to things don't weigh the same. This tiny little gem is this big. This is almost the same size, and this weighs 5 times more. So I wouldn't use the weight. Volume, probably. You're subtracting out the size of that out of the volume.
So you said length times width times height.
Equal minus the weight or volume.
Okay, thank you.
The volume works better than the weight, if you ask me, for the size. But the super easy trick of it is make each piece about the size of your piece, or a little bit more. In the beginning, you're going to want to do a little bit more. But it's about double. This will make just the perfect amount for your item. So just eyeball it. These two, I didn't weigh them. They're close. The Amazing Mold Putty you don't have to be perfect on, but you're more than welcome to weigh it on the food scale.
Sachiko says, hi, Sidney. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, everybody.
Let's see. Craft Lab Crazy says, newer to the group, will this live be saved to watch later? Yes, this will be up, and you can go back and watch it, and they're also, our past lives are on my YouTube channel as well, so you can go to our website and get to our YouTube channel to see all the past ones to make it super easy. Susan Clippinger said, how long does the extra mold material last if not used every day? So like when it's not mixed together yet.
Oh, so you can keep this probably for years.
We go through it kind of pretty quickly, so.
We do. I want to say I looked it up from the company, and they said a year, but I know it's longer than a year. You can try it. It's not that it's going to go bad. They just worry that it'll dry out. You'll know when you open it up if it's too dried out. But give yourself, they say, about a year.
Okay.
But honestly, I'm pretty sure I've used it older than that, because I'll take a container and forget about it, and it'll be, off to the side, and she needs something, and I'll grab that container. Maybe it had like a fleck of dirt or something in it, so it got saved. And so I've never had any problem with it, and that container could be sitting there quite a while as I gain more. All right, so we have 2 pieces. They need to be about the same size, and we're going to mix them together. You want to mix it till you don't see any more white. So just keep mixing, keep mixing, keep mixing.
And you do want to go pretty quick with this, right? You don't want to kind of touch them together, then set it down and come back to it.
In the middle of summer, you're going to have to go faster than you do now. If you, if it's very cold in your house, I want to say it was about 70 degrees in here, and it was about 20 minutes. It still hadn't set up. And also, you know, we turned on the heat. It was about 76, and it went much faster. And now it's warm.
Do you need me to turn it down?
These might not dry if I do.
For timing, yeah.
Yeah.
Jessie Ann said, mine said a year, but I have had it for 6 years, and it's still great. Good. There you go.
I love it. So now I'm just rolling it in a circle, and what this is doing is getting out any air. This is just like gum paste. Mercedes always squish it. Squish your gum paste. So you're going to squish your silicone. All right. So that gives me a nice ball. If you need a square, you can make it into a square. If you need a ball and you need it flat, like we made these. And then what you're going to do, I gave you 2 pieces of mat. You want to take it and just press here. I gave you this one. Let's use the one I gave you. Come on. It's going to stick today on me. There we go. And if one side looks nicer than the other, that's fine. Let's do this one. We haven't done this one yet. You're just going to press. Am I somewhat in the center?
Yep. So you're just kind of applying even pressure.
Even pressure. You can
from
use
the
a
center.
tool if you need to. I notice the edges are out a little bit. Just go around it.
So by pressing it in, it's kind of cupping up the edge a little bit.
It is. So all the pieces, you'll get a nice imprint. You know for sure the middle is imprinting well, but you want to make sure all your little edges get in there. It doesn't have to be thick. You don't want chunky brooches. But you can always pour it thin too if it comes out a hair too thick.
Lori said, I wondered how you got them so smooth.
Yeah, just work them. Using a container, you get nice edges. Let's say you need something, maybe you're going to show it on TV. You want something to look a little nicer. You can use any little dish. But just make sure all the little pieces are down inside. You can take a tweezer or a tool.
Paintbrush or tweezers. I got tools. These might not be hard enough.
Yeah, that might not be.
I got a cookie scribe.
Oh, a scribe. Ooh, yeah.
It might have a thing on there. No, it's good. I didn't know if there's Isomalt on it.
So you can press, make sure all your little edges are in. Don't want to slip, because then I'm going to make a big hole. Not that that's a matter. With silicone, it's so forgiving, like I just did there.
That was just to show everybody, you know.
So Sydney will show you how to fix it later. If you do mess it up, don't worry about it. You can even take a little ball of silicone and pour in there. So what I did was I accidentally slid off of it. I should not have. And so there's a little mark. But when Sydney goes to pour it, she can smooth that out with the torch. And it's the very back. It's not the front. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to set that aside. That's why I have them on little pieces, so that I can move them and then put them not where I'm going to hit it, because inevitably your arm leans on it or you stab it with your fingernail or something. And you don't want to waste any more material. So let's do this one in the cup.
Bev says, sorry if she may have missed it, but how do you know how much putty to use for whatever sized item? So it was about double the size, right?
I use about double the size, unless it's a very thick mold. This one, you need a little bit extra, because see how wide
Tilt it this way a little bit forward.
this
Yep,
way?
there you go.
Thanks.
Yeah, see how thick it is?
Yeah,
here,
it
this
has
way.
stones sticking out of it. So you want to make sure that that stone doesn't pop through the bottom. Won't really matter if you pour it on a silicone mat, you're still going to get it. Even if it does go through, don't stress, because oh, I think this strawberry came through at one little point somewhere. That's not even going to show up. So don't even worry about that. If this is your own mold, it's okay. Even if it has a thin spot or something like that. The most important thing for Isomalt, not for fondant or gum paste, is that it's fairly level. You want to make sure that when you pour it, it's not going to be on a big angle or anything. If it's fondant or gum paste, that's super easy. You press it in, you pull it out, and you can smooth it to any level you want, and chances are you're moving it over a piece on your cake anyway.
Right. Yeah, so of the two halves, each half should be about the same size as the piece you want to mold, which then leaves you with double, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. This little guy, I can tell you how much I used in there. So I made this one earlier. We're going to make this one on the food scale. Probably you can't see through that. Let's tear it. And the silicone, if you're making multiples, you'll know how much silicone. Like, oh, that's way too much silicone, or that's the perfect amount of silicone, or next time I need to add more. Just keep track. Keep a little journal. I write down how much I use for all of them. So that looks like 1 ounce,
1.9. Yeah.
1.9?
Yeah.
So almost 2.
About.
So that's easy.
Cindy was saying, so you don't have to put any Pam spray on those metal jewelry pieces before molding them?
I know that one I do not. You can put a little bit of Vaseline or something like that on there if you're worried about it getting stuck into crevices, but generally metal is going to release. It's the natural substances, wood, stone, rock.
Things that are porous.
Yeah, those porous items. Generally metal, and especially plastic, not too much trouble. Sometimes with glass, you might want to test on glass first, because glass is made out of silica.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yes. All right. So,
sorry, one more question.
Nope. Go ahead.
Susan wants to know, does silicone shrink when it dries, similar to air drying clay would?
The shrinkage, I want to say, is so minimal. It can definitely expand. Let's say, I was going to talk about this actually. So let's say I wanted to dry this right now really quickly. They suggest you put it in your oven with the light on. I find that's too warm and it puffs up the mold. So my suggestion is to place this into the sunlight. The sunlight in a window, I just set it in the window and it's just warm enough. It's absolutely perfect, and it's slower, and this will dry much faster. We don't have any sun today.
No, it's raining.
But as far as shrinkage, it's so minimal you will not notice it. But you can see today, I'll use the scribe. We're not drying very quickly.
So you can still make a mark in it.
Yeah.
Even though it's been more than 3 minutes or so.
You know, or something to see. But you'll also notice it's very shiny. When it's not quite so shiny anymore, it's dry. I'm not sure that shows up, the shininess.
Tilt it forward a little bit more. Yeah, there you can see it has kind of a wet look.
Yes.
Cool.
All right. Now we're going to get out 2 ounces of the Amazing Mold Putty for our small container that you got in the kit. If you don't have it, it's the ones that are in our grocery store by like the Gladware and the plastic silverware and things like that, napkins.
Yeah, the ones with the little lids.
Yes. We use them for Jello shots.
Yes. And mold making.
And mold making. So 2 ounces. So 1 ounce of A and 1 ounce of side B. And it did not stay tied. Let's do it again. All right. So when you do it in a dish, you get just kind of a little nicer side to it, a little bit more perfect. And I just happen to know that this little dish takes about 1. ounce. I do close it up when I'm not using it. And let's just move that off to the side. I'm going to tear that again and just make sure. Okay. It will stick to some surfaces. Do not lay this on your silicone mat. Put it on a plastic mat while you're waiting. And then that one was for side A, so make sure that one stays there. You don't want to mix it ahead of time because even if you don't see it, the residue is on it. Make sure that that was at 0. And very close. Some people wear gloves for this. I find, unless they're really tight-fitting gloves, that I tend to stick my fingers into the mold. So for the putty, I don't. But definitely, when you're making the other silicone molds, the liquid, you have to. All right, and then we're going to keep this one here. All right. So you can see they're the same size. And we're just going to mix it until you don't see the white anymore. Make sure you got your little place setting all set up and all your pieces right near you so you don't have to go running for something right in the middle of trying to do it. Also, don't mix your, don't set down your mold putty and have them too close together because those spots that they touch will become one. They will bond. So we want to let these dry really well after we get them made. If you unmold too soon, they will stretch and get disfigured. So we'll let these dry. That one's getting better now. And you don't see any more white on here.
I was going to see if my computer top was warm at all. I could put it on there.
Is it?
It might be a little
Okay,
bit more so than the middle.
Awesome. Okay, so we're just pressing this out. All right. So just make sure we don't have any air bubbles inside of it. I'm coming out this way.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
Nope, you're good. I've been watching too to make sure everything's in.
And then I just flatten it ever so slightly. Let's see. Make it about the size of your cup. You don't have to worry too much if your piece is about the right size because, about the edges I mean, I'm sorry. It made perfect sense in my head. And then press it in and see it goes perfectly into the cup. And you get a real nice edge.
Beautiful.
And I had popped this one out before. This one's done. And it gives you a real pretty edge on it instead of maybe more of a handmade edge. But that's not bad. Just doing it with your hand.
I can see how in the container it would take a little bit more product though too, right?
It does, and that's the thing. If you're not really needing to do that, don't, because this takes a lot less product if you're just going to press it into it or press it over it. And that's going to save you money, and you're going to have extra in case this one messes up and you need to make it again.
Jessie Ann was asking, do you use a paper cardboard cup? Or can you, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah?
Well, like...
it'll still work?
Yeah.
Okay.
I use just about everything. If you're worried about it, like this is covered in wax, so it'll work fine. But if you have something more like those coffee cups that are not quite that much, just take the Vaseline and put it in there. And the nice thing about these is when you're done, you just take it out this way. Just open it up and take your mold out. Don't even worry about saving this. Chances are good when you took it out, it was going to get marks and everything on it, and you were going to throw it out anyway, and it's just faster. Everything's about speed now.
Perfect.
All right, so we got to let these sit for a few minutes, but in Movie Magic, you have some, don't you?
I do.
Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to tell you about this? You will will be able to mold right away, which is really nice. Working with this mold putty. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to pop it. No, I'm just popping it and get it ready.
As soon as it's cured, it's absolutely ready to go. That's one of the beauty of working with this. With the liquid silicone, it's about 24 hours, and it's probably going to be several pours because we do it in several steps. So it could take 2 or 3 days for your pour to be done. And you definitely want all of it to be cured. Otherwise, it's going to have a chunk missing out of it, especially if you pour some Isomalt or something in it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to look right. So I'm going to give you a couple quick tips about care of your molds while we're waiting for these to cure and the Isomalt to heat up.
Perfect.
Don't ever dust in silicone molds. And if you have, you know why.
With colored dust, you mean?
With colored dust.
Yeah.
It does not like to come out, and it's going to stain the molds whenever you make more molds in the future, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I never paint in my molds.
Paint too.
Yeah, because it'll stain the mold, like you said, but it can also, because silicone is slightly porous, it can hold in that paint, and then it'll come off on the next one that you make. So.
Yeah.
No, that's why I always paint afterwards. Especially, I mean, I have seen like some people spray glitter and stuff in their molds to make like really pretty diamonds. It does look really pretty, but it's just, you can never use the mold for anything else other than glitter after that, or anything other than that color. So if you're making your own mold and you really want it dedicated to just remaking this one design, you can, but I never do it personally.
The other thing is, the other tip that I can tell you is just soak it in warm water to wash. They don't need to be scrubbed because, like your chocolate molds, if you scrub them, it's going to scratch them.
Yeah.
And the silicone can still scratch. And you definitely don't want, you know how expensive this stuff is. So you definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah, if I want to use a little soap, I would mix it with into warm soapy water and then just soak the mold, like dunk the mold into the soapy water rather than applying the soap directly on the surface of the mold. That way it just gets a little bit of sterilizing, but if you're just using it, you know, for Isomalt or for one thing, it's not going to get messy or anything like that. We have a couple questions, unless you want to show that one first.
No, go ahead.
So Jessiane was saying for the poured silicone, can you use cardboard? Which I imagine you can, right, with the Vaseline?
Yeah, you can definitely use cardboard. In fact, that's part of the next class.
Awesome. So let's see. Evelyn says they look so beautiful. Renata said fabulous. Lori said awesome tips. Bev said, how long until the putty cures fully?
So generally it's 3 to 5 minutes, but it's cold in here, and chances are most places in the country right now are really chilly. So it's going to take longer. You can keep an eye on it. You can see when it's shiny, like we did before. It's still shiny. And you can take in the inconspicuous part, but I'll show you on mine because we're not going to do anything with it. It can take a mark. When you can't put your fingernail into it, it's fine. You'll know too because it feels like it's going to stretch out of place. It still feels like a gum paste or a fondant that can move.
Awesome. Bev says, wow, I thought I misheard 3 to 5 minutes because it's so fast.
Isn't that crazy? If it's warm in the middle of summer, this is going to dry before you can get it down. In fact, sometimes I can't get them down fast enough because it's so warm. In this new building, it is much better. We have a lot more control. We have a newer air conditioner. In fact, it's just a year old.
I would imagine that's good too, though, because if somebody did have like their great-grandmother's brooch, they may not necessarily want to leave it.
Right.
So you could do it right there in front of them.
Exactly.
You know, you
and
could
then
just
hand
have
it back to them.
have a meeting, you know, sit down for a half hour, make the mold, and then they can just take their brooch back with them afterwards, which would be nice too. Renata asks, if it accidentally ends up in the dishwasher, will it survive?
Yes, it can be top. I think top right. Well, it probably can be on the bottom, but it's going to fall through. But all these molds, in fact, you can do them in the dishwasher. You can actually make cookies in these and bake right in the mold in your oven up to about 390 degrees.
Yeah, and again, because that's soapy water, it's not soap going directly on the surface of the mold, so it would be fine in the dishwasher.
I'm not sure where this was, but all we did was pull it out. It was really that simple.
Beautiful. Leslie was saying, how would I go about making a mold for shaker lollipops? Could I use this?
We pour the shaker lollipops So you definitely could, but you're probably going to get some air bubbles because of having to press the putty on it. That's the only thing. The liquid silicone works a lot better to pour over things.
For super smooth, like flat surfaces?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You can pour onto brooches, but generally, I don't know if you can see all the little holes inside. You're first going to need to put clay all over the bottom so that the silicone doesn't get through it. So you only get the front. This is where the press molds of the brooches work really beautifully, because when you press them in, you don't have to worry about filling all this, taking time to put clay all over the back, so that if you were to pour the silicone over this, it's going to come through, and it's just not needed. It's just in your way.
Yeah, because it'll kind of seep into any cracks and crevices, or like there's little gaps underneath the gemstones, you know, that you can see through to the back, right? So it would just kind of grab onto it and be impossible to get it out if you didn't pack it with clay first.
But any press mold is absolutely fine.
Carol asked, that is a gorgeous mold. Will it be in the store?
I'm not sure if this one's in the store or not right now.
I don't know. You guys probably know better than us. Is it in the store?
If it's not, it just got shut off. We're in the midst of rebuilding the website again.
Yeah, so sometimes things pop off.
Yes, if there's something that's not there, just give us a shout and we can tell you, oh, that's not supposed to be there.
Evelyn asked, can you make double-sided molds?
Yes, and I think that's going to be another one of our classes, right?
Yeah. Would you guys like to see that? How to do more of the two-part, like two-have or multiple-piece molds?
We're going to do it in liquid, and we're going to do it in putty, I think. Two different. We've got some things coming up. We've got some chocolate classes coming up, things like that. So,
yeah, because it would be a totally different process in putty compared to liquid, right?
Yes. This one's almost done. I'm going to go ahead and show you it popping out, which...
They're all saying, yes, please.
Yay! I'm so glad. This is almost done, but I'm going to take it out anyway because it will not really lose its shape at this point unless you bent it really badly. So, there. This mold, for instance, is not really a good candidate for the liquid. Some of the reasons are you'd have to fill all of this in. Because it has a brooch in the back, all that silicone's going to go to the back and you wouldn't be able to get your piece into mold.
Right.
So this one is perfect. And the putty picks up the detail, every little stray detail. That's why I said look for scratches, look for missing pieces. You never know. Now, if it's Grandma's brooch and there's a funny story behind that missing piece,
right,
that's awesome. You know, you're incorporating the story. So... But it comes out so nice. I don't know which ones you want to do, Sid. I'll pass it on to her now. I think
awesome.
You can keep answering questions. I'm right here.
Yeah. So yeah, they all wanted to see a double-sided molds class, two-piece molds. Renata said, am I right in thinking that you would use the pouring silicone for large items like glasses or bottles?
Yes. And so Sidney will show you something when she's done with her part.
Yes, so we have a little tiny announcement about that coming up at the end. Becky's asking, will you have this product at CookieCon?
Yes.
Yes, we will. We will have it there. I don't know if we'll be doing demos on it there.
Well, we can't do demos with the liquid, but we can do demos with the putty.
Yeah, but we'll definitely have it there, and we'll be able to tell you all about it, and we'll all be there. Mom will be there too, so she can answer questions if you're going to be there as well.
Even Alex is coming on the road with us.
Yeah, we're going to have such a good time. Awesome. Yeah, they all say that they look beautiful, and they would love the two-part mold class, so we'll definitely have to keep that one in mind for the next one.
You got it.
Fantastic. So I'm heating up some Isomalt right now, so now I just want to show you guys how we would use those, and I'll do some in fondant as well. If you want this, you could keep looking over questions.
I'm going to wash my hands before I touch your phone.
Go for it. All right. So I'm heating up the Isomalt. Whoop, heating it up really well, apparently. So if you guys got the accessory kit for this project, it came with our new clear glitter Isomalt, which is super duper pretty. It's definitely my favorite color right now, if clear can be a color, and I've been using it for everything, and I thought it would go really good with these brooches. So I want to show you guys how to pour and how to do some painting and just some tips for making your brooches look really lifelike. So we're going to do that next. And I'm also going to show you how to use them with fondant too, because it's a little bit different process. Because again, just like with the silicone, we're pouring with a liquid and then we're using more of a putty texture, and it's a kind of a different process to make finished pieces.
Carol said that it's not on the store, so we'll turn it back on. Carol, thank you for checking.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pour. Can I pour in this one that you just did, or you want me to use the other one?
Ready to
okay,
go.
awesome.
This one's the one I just
Oh, that one's
did,
the one you did.
That one's ready too. It's all, you can't get a fingerprint or
Okay.
anything on it now.
Maybe I'll do that one then. Let's do that one. Why not?
Okay.
All right, so
And this one should be done soon.
perfect. Maybe I'll use that one with the fondant. That would be really pretty. All right, so we have our mold, of course, that was just made. It's all cured now. And so you can see, like we were talking about before, I have really bright lights, box lights on us now, so it still looks kind of shiny. But in person, like Mom was talking about before, it's definitely not as slick looking anymore. It has like a matteness to it, so that's going to be perfect. Obviously, I'd usually work on a silicone mat or something like that, but just for this, I'm not going to make you guys wait while I reset up everything, so I'm just going to be gentle and careful. But you guys may want to switch to a silicone mat to make sure that it is going to catch any excess.
Do you want me to move them?
No, it's fine. As long as it's on a flat surface. This one was a little bit rounded, so I just didn't want it to move. I heated up my Isomalt for 30 seconds and then 15-second intervals, so that's my beautiful clear glitter color. It might have gotten away from me a little bit while I was talking, so I can't tell if I accidentally got it a little yellow or not, but you know, it happens. It'll just be a beautiful amber brooch if so. Antique, exactly. All right, so I'm just waiting for all the bubbles to settle. You don't want to use it right away when it's boiling, but you do want to bring it to that boil to get all of the air out. So I'm just letting all the bubbles rise and pop themselves until they're all not moving anymore, they're not popping or anything like that. Now, with silicone molds, you very rarely, really with any medium, have to prep them with anything. Silicone, or with Isomalt, you definitely do not. You don't want to put any oil or powder or anything in any of these just press molds like the flatter molds. Sometimes with really detailed, like the crystal molds and things that have a lot of stuff that can get caught down in them, I will spray it a little bit, but with this one, I don't because they're going to come out really, really easily. So we are just going to pour it directly into the silicone, let it cool, and it will come right out. And sometimes with fondant or gum paste, you may have to put a tiny bit of powder, and I don't like to put the powder directly in the mold. I like to powder the surface of the fondant or gum paste and then press that in, because you don't want to fill up any of the cavities of the mold with your liquid or with your powder that can kind of fill in spots, and you'll lose the definition there. But with Isomalt, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to pour it right in. Okay, and I don't know if you guys can see how pretty that sparkle is, but it comes out so nice.
So, Catherine Donner, she asked about the mold putty. Sorry to be right in front of you while you're doing that. To see the bottles. Amazing Mold Putty's been around for a long time. Mike Falpal, he invented it, and he's a super guy to work with. The whole company is amazing to work with. That one is their product, actually, and he uses Sidney in the food industry, like for all of his banners at the craft shows and everything, because she's the only one he has selling it who does food. And he's been after us for years and years. And for a while we did sell it, but of course we got busy with other stuff, and then this whole pandemic happened. But this one is actually, and the silicone or the silicone rubber is actually our product. They do make it, but then we get to do all sorts of other things to it to make it yellow and go at the right times and everything. So this one is actually a Simi product. Yay! With them.
Woohoo! So yeah, so we'll have those available soon.
Anywhere else.
Exclusive to us. All right, so yeah, I just poured that right in, and I used my little silicone tool, or you could use a toothpick or a skewer to just spread it into the details. You see that beautiful glitter in there. The thing that I love about the clear glitter too is you can mix any other color into it. So if you want a red glitter, if you want a pink glitter, if you want a blue glitter, you can just mix in a little bit of airbrush color, a little bit of powdered color, and just make sure you're not using gel colors, and you can get that really, really pretty glittery look with colors as well. I did that when I did my ugly sweater contribution for our collaboration in the Simi Torch team. I did mine clear glitter with the green mixed into it of the Simi Color Splash, and got a really pretty sort of like Grinch glittery color.
So cool.
All right, so I just poured that in, and now I'm going to let it cool. Something this size will probably take about 5 to 10 minutes at room temperature for it to cool all the way down, and then we will pop it out once it is done. Okay.
This one might be hard without a freezer. You can show popping it out, but you'd need a freezer. That one you probably don't.
Okay, I'll use that one then. I have one from that other mold here that I had just pre-poured, just to show you guys, since that will take a little bit of time, but you see how beautiful that comes out. Super pretty. You can see every one of those facets reflecting really, really nicely with the definition of the silicone. And then I'm going to do a little bit of painting on this in a second too, but we'll make our fondant one first and paint both of them to bring out the detail. But comes out just super nice. All that detail just translates perfectly into your finished
Lori
piece.
says it's gorgeous. It is. That mold is really pretty.
Awesome. All right, so now the fondant, or the Isomalt one's cooling. I'm going to take a little bit of fondant, so I'm going to use the tropical fondant from Satin Ice. And grab a little bit of this out.
I'm looking at the piece that you had, and it looks, in clear glitter, it looks like a snowflake almost. I think that would be beautiful.
That would be really, really pretty. Alright. So I take a little bit of my tropical fondant. I'm going to do this pretty sunflower here. Now if you're using modeling chocolate, or even sometimes with really soft fondants, you may want to, once you put this in the mold, you may want to freeze it. So something like this is very flat. There's not really that much detail that's going to necessarily grab onto it. There's a lot of detail that's pretty 2D, you know, it just is slightly raised in there because it's not a particularly deep mold, but there's nothing really deep down in it. Like again, say like crystal molds or something that's actually like grabbing onto the mold itself. So you don't need to worry about freezing it, but with some really detailed molds that you feel like when you try and peel it out, it's going to warp or stretch, you may want to pop this in the freezer. So I fill in the mold first. I just kind of rolled a ball, okay, and then I'm just pressing it into the mold very just, you know, kind of abstractly, not really anything specific, and then I'm just going to go through and really press into all the cracks and crevices. So I'm taking my thumb, and if I'm going for this edge, I'm rolling it towards the edge as I go around to just press it into the crevices.
Becky says, beautiful. Evelyn says, looks like a beautiful snowflake.
Yay.
Nancy, just beautiful. And Lori says, that's what she thought too.
Yeah, that would be really pretty, especially with some pearl dust in there or painted on top.
Oh yeah, that would shine. Good for the frozen cakes.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so see how I was pressing it this way, but now what I'm going to do to make sure I didn't go over the edge too much is I'm going to pull the other way. So I'm going to kind of press inwards, and you see how that defined those little edges of the petals a little bit more? That's my trick to not having to go back and fix it too much after it comes out of the mold, because of course you can go back with an X-Acto knife and you can trim out any excess, or you can use a tool to kind of redefine the edges, but look how just pressing it back from the edge a little bit kind of pulled away any excess, so now there's really not going to be too much for me to clean up afterwards.
So Carol says, when you flip that over, I thought of a fake cookie. Can the putty once cured be used as a fake cookie?
I don't see why not.
I don't see why not. I think that would work great.
Yeah, I mean you can wash it. I mean it goes up to different temperatures, so
yeah,
definitely. That's a great idea.
Awesome.
All right, so now I'm just going to kind of softly pull it out of the mold, and all of that detail. It's hard to tell, of course, because we're using webcams on here, but it has a whole bunch of that detail from inside the mold. We're going to paint it in a second, which will bring out the detail even more. So that is one thing. With molds like this, especially with this mold putty, it has so much detail in it. And it comes out so beautiful. I mean, all the detail transfers right from the brooch into the silicone, and then from the silicone into your medium, But the thing is, it doesn't always show the best until you help it along a little bit. So I have a couple little tricks of things that I do to help reflect the light, because it's really, you know, a lot of visual arts is about light, right? So even with 3D pieces, light plays a very, very key factor. So in order to tweak the light a little bit, we can use some painting techniques in order to shade it. So I'm just going to grab a paper towel here. I'm going to grab my Isomalt brooch as well.
In a perfect world, you'd let that firm up a little.
Yeah, definitely I would let that dry. And I'm going to use some paints. So I'm going to use my Wedding Gold from the Sugar Art, which you guys know I love. Nice bright gold, and we're going to mix that with a little bit of alcohol and a bigger brush here. Which brush do I want? So again, with light, especially with Isomalt, it can be hard to see all the detail in a piece that you made. Even if it has all the texture there, sometimes you can't visually see it as well if you don't add some sort of reflection to it. And the reason for that is light passes through Isomalt, whereas with opaque pieces like the white fondant, it reflects off of it. So you're only seeing the surface rather than seeing through it. And that's why you can't see this clear brooch quite as well as you can see the white on the paper towel. So when we add a little bit of paint to the surface, even to the white, it catches in the cavities and the detail of the mold, and it's going to start to make it really, really pop.
Oh, yeah. Sandra says she loves it.
Yay! All right, so by painting with and against the grain, you can get different effects. And of course, painting is kind of a whole thing within itself, and I have lots and lots of tutorials and different projects with different that include different painting techniques. So I'm just kind of doing a crash course right now. But that's really going to add a whole bunch of texture, and I'm going to do it on the center as well. There, and then I'm going to take a smaller brush to go for the border of my brooch. And this one is a pretty detailed mold, so I would definitely take more time than I'm going to right now, just so you guys don't have to sit here and stare as I do it. But you can go around the edges and really make everything pop, and that's going to help a little bit. Okay, but what's going to help a lot with some of these really faceted brooches, in addition to painting around the edges, is to dry dust them. Even if you just dry dust it with a little bit of pearl dust to not affect the color, it helps to just reflect that light on the surface. And I made this mold, this Isomalt piece a little while ago, so it might be a little bit sticky since I didn't seal it yet. But I'm just going to add a little dusting.
Yeah, crazy rainy day.
It has been. A little dry dusting. And then I'm just going to kind of blow off the excess. Normally, of course, I wouldn't blow on something that somebody's going to eat. But I am not going to, nobody's going to eat this. So I just want to make sure that it's all good. A couple little brush hairs here.
Stuck in the facets.
And look at that. You see how it reflects the light so much nicer now, and you can really, really see all of that detail. And then if I want to go back in with any of my paints, of course alcohol is going to make it a little bit darker, I can kind of go around and outline some of those edges. And then if you really wanted to get in depth with it, you can go back with some darker golds. So you can go back in with like a bronzy color, you can go back in with brown luster dusts. And you can really, you know, be meticulous with this and get it to pop a lot more. So I'm just going to go around. I'm just going to do half of it so you can kind of see the difference from where we started with just the dry dusting. And after I put in just kind of a base layer of that gold, you see how that's making the stones pop a little bit more, adding that contrast.
Evelyn says, I'd buy that mold, hint, hint. We'll get it turned back on.
This demo's about mold making, guys. Don't you want to make your own? I love this mold too. It's so pretty. All right, so I just took a little bit of the just dark brown petal dust, and I'm going to just kind of antique a little bit into the depths of the mold.
Carol too. She needs that mold in her life. LOL.
I love it.
That's great.
So I'm just letting the dark brown kind of fill in some of the gaps, and I'm not going to, you know, go too crazy with making this super duper perfect, but
Lori says, yes, I'll still buy yours.
I
I
love
know,
it.
we have such a mold addiction.
Yeah,
Every cake tool addiction, really.
yeah. Sprinkles, tools, gadgets.
We love it. And we're supporting our community, right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
see how that gives you a little bit more of an antiqued look, especially when you go over and glaze it. So you guys know you'll always spray the Isomalt with a clear edible glaze after it is done. And I paint it before I glaze it, if possible, because it'll stick better, but also the glaze makes it shiny again, so it'll make it really, really bright and reflective. And you see how just adding a little bit of contrast to your eye, and I would go back and do some more layers of that to get it really, really bright and intense, it will really make it a lot more noticeable. And so the same thing, you see how now you can see the detail of each of those veins on the petals a lot more. You can go back and add, little bits of browns and things if you wanted to around it, just to give it some more contrast. You see it just added a slight shadow. It didn't even really add too much color to it. And so yeah, that'll just kind of give you some really pretty looks. This Isomalt piece that we poured originally should be cool as well. So let me see if I can take that out of here.
It has a lot of those center
Yeah.
holes.
And when there's a lot more detail like a mold like that, it's definitely going to take a little bit longer to kind of work it out, its way out of the mold, which is fine. But you see that beautiful sparkle.
Sid,
Try and
can
get
you
it on the
show the
light
Glaze
here.
Craft Lab Crazy?
Yeah.
Do you have glaze you recommend?
Yeah, I use the PME Clear Edible Glaze Spray. That's my favorite, and just the one I can get easiest here. So you can use whatever you have on hand. And then if I take a little bit of that gold, I can kind of catch a few of those little pieces here. And it just adds kind of that warm glow and that sparkle to it that helps it reflect the light. And you can see that pretty glitter inside of it too.
Before you finish up, Sid, I want
Yeah.
to show how easy it is. It comes out of this cup.
Definitely. Let me move these paints so we don't get
no.
any paint anywhere
Or dust.
or dust anywhere. Perfect.
So when your mold is done, going back to this, it really should just pop out so easily, whatever you make it in. And really, you'll look at all your containers now differently. And I just squeeze it a little bit, and it should just fall right out. It shouldn't stick. But after a while, when you start using these so often, you have to replace them. So make sure it's something that you can replace pretty easily and it's pretty cheap. And don't worry about it. And there we go.
So pretty!
Yeah, and then, you got a whole bunch of chocolates to make. You can make them, or you need 20 different brooches on a cake. Makes it much nicer to have multiples.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All
Jessie Ann
right.
says they look wonderful, frozen theme. And Carol says if you paint just the back, will all the detail come out as clear?
Sort of. You'll definitely have like a clear coating, almost like a picture frame, how you can tell that there's colors underneath the glass, but there's definitely a clear coat of glass over top of it. It kind of will have that effect. So I do use painting on the back a lot to add more depth into my pieces, to add kind of like a clear glass around it. So it just kind of depends on the way that you're looking at it.
Will it hide, let's say you paint it black, would it hide the detail on the front?
It might, just because darker colors absorb light, so it may kind of have the same effect as a clear, where, flat colors are definitely going to just have like less dimension than, if you shade them, but I think it would take some experimenting, and it would depend which way the angles of the gem brooch are, because light reflects different ways. So if there's a lot more texture, it's going to look a lot different than if it's a really smooth piece. So it just may take a little bit of kind of playing around with it and seeing for your shape what it's going to look like.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
All right. Here, I'll pass that back
All
to
right.
you.
You want me to go ahead and tilt the camera back up if you have anything else flat? All right. Perfect. All right, we're back.
Hello.
So what did you guys think? Are you excited to make your own molds? Do you guys have any ideas already of what you're going to mold? If you have any certain brooches or, gems or anything like that that you think might be cool? Awesome. Carol said so pretty.
Great.
Jenny said very cool. Love the tips. Carol, I need a class on painting techniques. We could do an in-depth painting class. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Bev said, so excited, I'm going to mold everything.
Yes, I know. I know. You're going to just see everything
Yeah,
as a mold
that's
now.
how, I mean, that's pretty much how we go through
Yeah.
life now, is we just see things and we're like, I wonder if I can make a mold of that.
And if you get stuck or get into any situation, I'm generally with Sid or near her, or she can text me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. So if you have questions, feel free to write us here. Lori said another awesome tutorial. Tammy's super excited to try it. Fabulous, thank you from Becky. Awesome. All right, perfect. Yes, so before we go, Susan said you make it look so fun and easy.
It is, it is.
Awesome.
And
Taisha
if
loves
not,
making molds.
If you roll it in a ball, you have an awesome super ball.
There you go. Yeah.
If you get mad, you can just throw it.
I love it. It'll just bounce off everything. Fantastic. So before we go, remember we were talking about how we had a couple exciting announcements of some upcoming things. So first off, I wanted to, you guys know I usually give you like a preview or I announce the next live stream project on the previous live stream. So it's going to be a little bit different next month. We're not actually having a live stream. But the reason for that is our Zoom class, our online class that we do every month on different topics, is actually going to be a 2-day class. You don't have to come to the live class. You can get the pre-recorded version as well. Or if you can only do one day of the class and you can't make the other day that's scheduled, you will have the videos to be able to do the prep work whenever you need before the second day, or to do the post day's work whenever you can after the first class, if that makes sense. So you can do it to your own schedule. You can do it all on your own. You can come to both classes, come to one of them. Everything's going to be ready for you, but it's going to be an in-depth molding class, right?
Yes.
So I have the picture up here of the kit. I don't have all of the info finished yet, but it will be announced soon how you guys can sign up for that. But we have the kit of what it is going to basically contain. Do you want to tell them a little bit about the techniques that they'll learn in this class?
So it's all going to be about prep of your pieces, what pieces that you're going to mold. We're going to start out with something simple. I think in the future we'll get into like beer bottles and things like that, but we're going to go with something a little bit easier to start out with because moving into those, air bubbles get trapped in certain places and this and that, and this is so beautiful. You're going to be able to use this mold for so many things.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. So we're going to be making, you can see there in the picture, there's a beautiful vase, or it could be a really pretty like stemless wine glass or champagne glass. That's the piece that you're going to be molding, and I have the actual piece. If you guys saw this month's class, so that's going to be for February, right? That's the month we're in. February's class. We still, we're not yet at January's class. We still have, I believe it's a week from today. Yeah. It's going to be the orchid class, at noon. That one is a Zoom class. Remember, it's not here on Facebook. It is actually Zoom. You have to sign up in order to get the link to come. That one is going to be the 3D stained glass orchid. And if you look closely, I actually used the vase. So we're just focusing on the orchid itself. And you can use any real or edible vase that you want for this class. But after next month's class, if you do both, you can actually put them together. So we are going to be making, a week from today, the stained glass orchid. It is actually 3D, and I'll pick it up and show it to you guys so that you can see it. And that is going to be a week from today. There's still time to sign up if you want. The accessory kit does go with it. There's one just like we did for this, and you can get it. Oops, wrong one. And I'm going to grab the piece here so you can see it live and in person.
I'm going to also have Sid email the template for this, the people who signed up for this class, because in the kit it's folded and you may want a flat one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so this is the orchid that we're going to be making, and you can see that it is going to be 3D, so you can angle these in different ways. We're going to be talking about structure, and then you can see I also have the glass. So I actually used the mold from February's class that we're going to be making to create the vase, and I sized these together, so the template is going to be sized to the vase. But since the orchid comes before the vase, it's going to be whatever vase you have lying around that you use for flowers, or you're welcome to make one before the class if you want to use in class with whatever mold or technique that you would like. All right, so just going through, do you guys have any final questions? Everybody says fun, fun, fun. Oh, I'm so excited. Awesome, awesome. Gonna mold everything in sight. I love it. Fantastic.
And even though you don't have a play date, you'll go back to play dates.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just for that month because we are doing a 2-day class, a Zoom class. We just don't have it, but we are gonna have some guest, lives and things going on. Lots of fun stuff in the Torch team. We always do a game night, so make sure if you're not a part of the Simi Torch team, it's our online Facebook group. It's totally free. We do lots of fun stuff in there and post your pictures of molds that you make.
We have 2 guests this month.
Yes, we do have 2 guests this month. I have my calendar right here. I'm gonna tell you guys. So this month we have Irenia. She's from Florida Bakers Club. She's actually here in Florida. She's going to be doing a demo on this coming Friday. So that is going to be at I actually don't know if we scheduled a time for it yet, but I'll announce it within the next couple days once I confirm with her. But that one's going to be this Friday, and she's going to be doing some stuff of making some pieces as well as some tips for photography, which is really, really exciting because you guys know photography is a whole other skill in itself, especially when photographing your own cakes and displays. So she's going to have some really awesome tips for creating a piece as well as photographing it well, which is really exciting. And then on the following Friday, on the 28th, so that was on the 21st, on the 23rd, a week from today, is the orchid class. And then on the 28th, I'm so excited because we're going to have Dosha Freeman. She is going to be instructors for our Simi retreat coming up this May. She's going to be going live and doing some incredible cookie demos for you guys because she does the most amazing cookies. So she's going to be going live.
We're excited for you to meet her.
Yeah, she is so talented and so awesome and so nice.
And her business is Sweet Trade Bakery.
Yes, Sweet Trade Bakery. She's located here in Melbourne, Florida, which is where we're based. So it's going to be really fun. So she's going to be on and teaching you guys about some fun cookie and Isomalt decorations.
So 2 amazing artists.
Yeah, 2 really, really awesome lives for this month coming up this coming Friday and next Friday. So make sure you tune in. Those will be here on the Simi Cakes and Confections page, and we'll also be sharing it to my personal page and to the Simi Torch team group. And so we have lots and lots of fun
stuff coming up. If you're not on the
up.
Torch team, sign up. It's a free Facebook group. We just talk about Isomalt and sugar and chocolate and
now mold making.
And now mold making.
Yeah, and make sure that you tag us if you use any of these techniques, if you make your own molds, if you use the mold putty. We would really, really love to see your application of the mold itself as well as what you make with it. So, all right, do you guys have any final questions? I'm going to switch back here. Awesome, I'm so excited.
Yay.
Yay.
That's great.
All right, thank you guys so much for watching.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it was amazing, and we'll definitely do a lot more molding classes and lives and different demos for you guys as long as you guys are up for it. It's really an amazing technique that will just bring your level of art to, just a whole different place because you can actually make things from scratch, and it gives you so many more options for what you can do. Awesome. So yeah, if you have any other questions, please feel free to send me a message on my personal page, on Instagram, on the Simi page, wherever you would like. Sometimes the Simi page doesn't always give us notifications for some reason of messages, so that's why I have that little pop-up message that comes through. But if you ever need anything right away, I get the Sidney notifications of messages right to my phone, Instagram too, and so if you have questions for either of us, you can message me there and we will write you back.
Oh yeah.
All right, so thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you next time.
Bye guys. Thank you.
Bye.